Hello, Bryce Tubbs here. Today I'm just going to be talking about what causes most people to struggle in business. Now, it's funny. I oftentimes don't really talk that much about struggles, especially like my struggles when I was first getting started. And I feel like that's a disservice to this channel. Specifically, because I make these videos to give you guys like an accurate perspective of what you need to do in order to grow your accounting or your bookkeeping business. And sometimes I touch on it. I'll talk about I struggled for the first it was about 6 months I was in business. The most money I made in a month was about $2,300, but like $1,700 of that came from a cleanup with a 3-year duration. That means I was pricing about $50 a month every single month for the price of that cleanup. Right now, the reason why it was so hard for me was because it was a weird thing, because before I even got started in my accounting business, I had been doing like online businesses like eBay and Amazon, and I was always able to get the revenue up pretty high. But with those businesses, it was hard because the profit margin was always so low, right? So I would try and grow that business, then it would just fail, right? And that left me with a lot of scar tissue. And I actually put off starting my accounting and bookkeeping business for about it was about 6 months, because I was just like, oh my gosh, I knew it was gonna be hard. But not necessarily hard that it was impossible to do. It was more that I knew I would have to be talking to people. I knew I would have to put myself out there. I knew I had to face a lot of rejection. And it was just one of those things, those are just my 3 biggest hurdles. Because the reason I had even started doing online businesses like the eBay and Amazon was so I didn't have to talk to people. I wanted to be able to make money without having to actually go into work, without having to talk to people, without having to actually deal with complaints or deal with people saying yes or saying no. It was just they would buy it, I would ship out the stuff, and then they would kind of disappear into the ether. And even that was one reason why my profit margins were so low, because I wasn't getting a huge amount of repeat buyers. And I had brought on a bunch of VAs. I brought on a lot of VAs, and it just didn't work. At the end of the journey, right before I started my accounting firm, I was losing about $2,000 a month. I remember going over out to dinner with a friend and his father. His father had been an entrepreneur for 50 years. It was between 50 or 40 years. He was a retired man at the time, but we were talking. It's I'm growing my business. I'm doing pretty good. And he goes, well, top line revenue doesn't really mean anything. Are you actually making any money? I was like, well, I'm gonna try and lose money and just really try and get my revenue so high that eventually I'll stop losing money and I'll be able to win. And I'll never forget it. The guy was like, dude, that's stupid. You have to be able to make money in the short term, and then if it makes money in the short term, when you go and expand, it's gonna make money a lot more. But if you're losing money in the short term, it's going to be very, very hard for you to make money. And it wasn't until he said that it kind of clicked and my heart kind of sank. And for the next 3 months, I was so just embarrassed, right? Because I was walking around. Everyone knew that I was this business person. So then it took me an extra 3 months of walking around scared, and then 3 months of me just getting the courage to be hey, maybe I can do this business. Maybe I can do this business thing. I don't know. Maybe I can do it. So I launched my accounting firm, and that was one of those things where everybody told me not to do it. You need to have 40 years experience to do that. Everyone who you're going against, they've been in business for so long. Dude, you need to know a bunch of people. You have to have this huge audience, this huge network. You haven't gone to a networking event ever. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, you don't know anybody. You're not good at marketing. You're not good at sales. And how are you going to price this stuff? I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to price it. I'm just going to try and figure it out. So for the next 6 months, I did 3 main ways of trying to get clients. Actually 4 main. The first one was blog posts. I'd make a blog post a month. To be honest, I actually didn't even write the blog post. I went on Google. I found whoever was ranking for the top one, and I just copied and then tweaked it a little bit, then pasted it. I'm not proud of it. Don't go tell the internet police that, but that's what I did, because I didn't really know how to do marketing. Everyone told me I sucked at marketing, so I was like, okay, well, these guys are ranking the top inside of my town, so maybe they know what they're doing about marketing. So I would copy this. That was number 1. Number 2, is I would go to networking events. So specifically, I would go to like networking events, and I would have like this. It took me like like 3 months to go make these like trifold brochures and a website. So I'd have like these trifold brochures. I would go to like to the Chamber of Commerce, and I would put it inside of the Chamber of Commerce. I remember I had like 50. To this day, 7.5 years later, I started my accounting from 7.5 years ago. But to this day, I go in there every like 6 months to a year, and I still see them in that same exact place. No one took the brochures. It even had like I don't know if I had a business card stapled to it. But yeah, so that was networking events. So I would be trying and talking to people, and don't get me wrong, once I started learning how to sell, then I did get clients from networking events. I did a lot of money from networking events, but in the beginning, it's funny because I thought I was having like a marketing problem. Really, I had like a sales and pricing problem. I didn't know how to price my stuff. I didn't know how to convey the value. I was getting leads. Like I was getting conversations with people. It's just they were not saying yes. I went 1 for 36. My first 36 consultation calls. A consultation call is basically where it's like the person says they need an accountant, they need a bookkeeper, and then they're basically saying, you're basically auditioning. It's almost like an interview, like a job interview, only for your business. We call them consultations. And I went 1 for 36. And it wasn't until number 36 that I got that one. So I went 0 for 35, and it was so hard. And the only reason that I got that first client was because the person said no, but then they called me back and they're like, okay, we'll go with you. You're the lowest price. I'm like, oh. So I was the lowest price for the cleanup. And yeah, it was rough. The second marketing channel that I utilized was cold calling. So I would like go to the local community college had like this entrepreneurship department in it, right? And it was like I think it's the SBDC or something, and then across the hall it would be connected to the school's library. So then the SBDC guy's like, hey, go to librarian, tell her what you're looking for, and she might be able to actually go get you a lead list. I was like, what is a lead list? I had never heard of a lead list before at the time, so man, it's funny. I'm just kind of thinking back to like how little I actually knew about this game and just about business in general. It's funny to see. I'm just kind of putting my computer or my paper over my computer screen. But it's funny like when you kind of recount and like just see like how far you've come and how much you've learned, and then even like watching like old videos of myself talking about like growing my accounting business. Just kind of looking back. All that to say, like the cold calling. So I got the list. And then I would be like literally cold calling. So I didn't really have a good cold call script. I was trying to make it up from scratch. Like, hey, my name's Bryce. My company name. Do you want help? Click. Do you want help? Yeah, call me back on Friday. Friday comes. You say, hey, you told me to call you on Friday. Click. And oh my goodness, I would do like about 1 to 2 hours a day of doing that. And that one was really hard for me because I didn't really get any sales with that cold calling. Yeah, so that was rough too. The next way I was doing marketing, the fourth way was instead of doing networking events, I would do like cold drop-ins. So I would like this is even before the brochures. I would have like a stack of like printer paper with like low on ink writing, and it would be like my face, my business, how I can help them out, and a copy of my business card. And I would literally go to like dentist offices or to jewelry stores or to we went to this place. It was like 45 minutes away from where I live, and like I try to basically like get my foot in the door, and then try to like get into the back office where all the people. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, to be honest. And for the dental offices, it was so hard because you would go and you'd have to talk to the receptionist, and the receptionist job would be like, hey, yeah, give me the information, and if he's interested, we'll call you back. There was one time I remember I got past the secretary. So what happened was I was at it was some kind of like award ceremony dinner that I had found out I was invited to by a mentor. And there was this dentist who was actually accepting the award. So what I did was the next day I went up to his doctor's office and said, hey, I saw so-and-so at this award show and I was really interested in speaking with him. And then they like set up this meeting, and then I was able to get the meeting. And then we got in there, and this dude did not want to talk. He did not want to talk. I had like this letter of recommendation that I had. Like, I had 2 letters of recommendation that I brought in because, you know, I didn't really know how to do consultations. So I was talking, and I was super nervous. He's like, you know, I'm good at what I do, but I'm trying to get some clients. You know, I really want to work with you. And this guy was just sitting like this. Wasn't even looking at me. I like gave him the letter of recommendation. Didn't even open it. I was like, ugh. And at the end of the call, I was like, yeah, you know, maybe, I don't know. So like, okay. So I was like, I didn't know how to close, so I just like took it as okay. So I went to the front desk after the meeting, and I was like, hey, yes, we're gonna schedule our next meeting for this time. And she penciled me in. It was like set to be like 14 days or like a month later. The month comes up, like the time we were supposed to meet back again. I think that either the day of or the day before, the secretary called and said, hey, yeah, so and so say he doesn't want to talk to you. And I'm like, oh. I was like, oh. What? Why not? And then she was like, yeah, he just said it's just not a good fit. And then click, and I was like, oh man. This after he told me to send him this proposal. I made this proposal on like Microsoft Word, and like it had like 3 different packages, and it was oh my goodness, man. I was very, very confused, very upset. You know, because the guy said it was a go, and he told me to send him over a proposal. So I took all this time sending a proposal, making it in Microsoft Word, because I didn't know how to use any other form of like, you know, technology at the time. And it looked so kludgy. I remember this one millionaire, she said that all my marketing material looked kludgy, like really cheap, like really, really bad. And I was just like, oh, I'm trying so hard. I'm not a graphic designer. Yeah, so that was basically the 4 main ways I was trying to go get clients. And you know, a lot of people, what they don't understand is like business is kind of a messy game. When I say messy, it's like it's very predictable. But while you're doing it, while you're inside of the game itself, it feels very, very, very confusing and messy in some cases. And you know, a lot of people don't like that because they like having a lot of security. Now, for me, there's security over the span of a month, right? Every single month, you end up having exactly what your goal is. But in the day-to-day, the week-to-week, day-to-day is not actually that bad, actually, to be honest. It's more of like week-to-week. You're like, am I going to hit my goal? Or like, what's going on? Or why am I getting less calls this week than other weeks? And it's just weird. It's just messy. Sometimes clients will be like, you know, they'll ask you a bunch of questions one week, then you won't hear from them again. Then someone will get sick, and you won't hear from that client for like a month. And then it's a really beautiful game when you kind of get to it. I almost kind of like liken it to tennis, the sport of tennis. They call it one of the most beautiful sports because to watch from afar, it's amazing, right? The serves, the volley, the way that the rackets move, how smooth, the finesse they have, like it looks amazing. But when you're actually down there, especially if you're at like one of those, they call them Grand Slams, like Roland Garros, which is in like France, the French Open. Like, it's just grimy, it's dirty, you're punching, you're sweating, you're tired, your legs are hurting, you need to change your racket because your technology and your computer just messed up, and it's just like, you know, it's this kind of, in the moment, it's really tough. When you look back, and you look back at your year, and you sit there and you made over 6 figures, like, wow, that was all I had to do to go make 6 figures? Okay. And then it's just like, man, it was all worth it in the end. It's crazy. Now keep in mind though, like a lot of the students, like, cause I do have the mentorship program, so I own my like accounting firm, and I have like the mentorship program. The mentorship students had it so much easier than what I have it, right? Like, one of my students, Oriana, she got $2,500 per month client 3 days after joining my program. I was like, do you know how long? And she was a little bit annoyed and disheartened because she not only had a $2,500 client, but there was one that she was like trying to sell for $2,800 on the same day. So she had the potential to close $4,800 worth of monthly recurring clients within not 40. Sorry, I'm off. Sorry, $5,300 worth of monthly clients. Oh my light just died. $5,300 worth of monthly clients in 3 days of joining my program, and then she didn't get one of them right away, and she was so upset. I was like, do you understand how long it took me to get to $5,000 per month? It took me a grand total of about 6 plus think it was like 6 plus 5. Yeah, 6 plus about 5. So about 11 months to get to $5,000 per month in my accounting business. And you're upset because like it didn't happen on day number 3, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And here's the funny thing, right? We have this really structured follow-up process inside of my program of how to get your foot in the door. So they might not pay the full amount, but you can have like a little baby service that you actually connects you with them. They start paying you money, and then once the whatever you guys agreed upon changes, like maybe their budget expands, or they get this new contract, or their current contract with their current CPA expires, then you guys work fully. So she's gonna get that client to sign up for the $2,800 per month. It's just a matter of like time, because now the woman is doing both QuickBooks training with her, as well as letting her do like some of the tax prep and some of the beginning work of the cleanup. She just didn't get the $2,800 like monthly work. She's got the cleanup stuff. So I'm like, but it's funny, man. So like whenever I see like a student and they get to like, you know, 15,000 a month, like Audrey's gonna be at $20,000 in sales per month, and she's only been in business, I think we've been working together a little bit over a year. She started at 0 because she was working her job. She had like 15 days before she was going to quit her job. Like she'd already put in her 2 weeks notice, and she still had, you know, the courage to be able to go into my program. She's almost at $20,000 per month in sales. A little bit over a year from getting started with me, and she started at 0. I was like, whew. The time that it took for her to get to 20,000 per month, it took me to get to about it took me a lot longer. But you know, that's just how it goes, and that's kind of why you pay for a mentorship. Like back when I was getting started, like there weren't all these like different mentorship programs, right? There weren't a lot of people who were offering accounting and bookkeeping support. It was either like you'd have to go to like a seminar, or there'd be like these not online gurus, but like gurus like Tony Robbins, where it'd be more. Ah, man, my light just came back on. That was weird. It's like the battery like recharged itself for a second. This is my my light, you know. But all that to say is like there weren't as many opportunities to do it, and like the programs that were back then, like they weren't cheap, right? Like sometimes people you know, they kind of balk at some of the price I talk about. Like when I was purchasing, like I spent $35,000 my first year that I was in business to make sure that I could actually do it, because I had to do like guru retreat masterminds at this hotel, and those things started for like $5,000 for like 3 days plus the hotel costs. Then it would be like there was like these mastermind things where you pay like $18,000 for like 3 months worth of support from these like millionaires, and you know, I don't even want to go down that, just talk about that. Like, in the end of the day, like, all of it was worth it, because, like, you know, I did gain a lot of skills, but at the level I was at, like, a lot of the stuff I was buying just wasn't really the best fit for me. And that's really the difference, right? Like for me, like, whenever I have the mentorship program, like, it's really kind of built for people who are trying to go from, like, anywhere from, like, 0 to about $20,000 per month. This is kind of the first level of that mastermind. Then we do have, the first level of the program. Then we do have like a mastermind for people that are already doing $15,000 a month. They want to go more like to 40 or 50,000 a month. But for the average person, like this thing has been like handmade, handcrafted. Like we've taken out so much stuff, because it's just like, you know, everything has to be custom and it has to be very simple for you to be able to go and get traction. And because, I mean, when you're starting, like there's just so much stuff about business you just don't